Now, obviously, I share some hype about XRP on a daily basis. I am guilty of doing that. But today we have our good friend Steven Narioff, the Ethereum whistleblower, describing XRP as having no ceiling and ready to play that reserve currency role. And he suggests that that might be part of why the SEC unfairly targeted Ripple, the executives, Brad and Chris, and came after the entire XRP community. Now, we're going to get right on into it in this update. I have a lot to cover. This is going to be another exciting episode. And if you're new here, make sure that you're subscribed up. You hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my live content. I'm dropping content on a daily basis. Sometimes we go live. Sometimes we drop a short. I'm trying to get you guys what you want. And today we have it. Let's run right through it. Now, we're taking a look at the cryptocurrency market kind of cooling off here as we see it did pull back here. Taking a look at the charts, Bitcoin to 34,100 right now, kind of cooling off here. XRP at 55 cents still, just chilling. And we are watching the DXY still at 106. 2-year back down and the 10-year back down, okay, in the last 24 hours. And we're watching the oil hanging out here at 88, starting to tick back up once again. Silver still chilling, 22.8, just below $23 per ounce. And speaking of silver, guys, if you are looking to get your silver and your precious metals, you know we got you covered. That's linked up down below. You guys already know the deal there. You can roll over your 401k retirement account, or we can get those metals shipped directly to you. Let us know how we can take care of you. Now let's take a look at gold, back up to about 1987. Speaking of the 1987 Black Monday crash, we might have something like that coming up here soon, huh? What do you guys say? Nvidia back down in a major way, getting smacked. You know it's bad when you got to adjust, you got to scale back the chart. And I have to do the same thing here on the S&P. I know I do. Yep, here we go. Back down for the S&P 500 and the same thing for the Dow Jones. Okay, so stocks back down. Flight to quality still remains, but the cryptocurrencies did cool off here in the last 24 hours, and we will see whether or not that Bitcoin ETF gets approved. I'm seeing the Bitcoin maxis getting desperate as always, and they're sharing some articles. They're not even sharing articles. They're just putting out tweets with no backing nor no sources saying that a spot ETF is about to be approved in the next 24 hours. So we'll be watching that one closely. In the meantime, we have this one reporting here from Bloomberg. This is breaking news. Israel latest. U.S. strikes 2 Iran-linked facilities in Syria. The U.S. said it hit 2 facilities in eastern Syria it believes were used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and other groups in what it called as self-defense strikes. Following repeated attacks on U.S. forces in the region, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin warned that further action could come if attacks by Iran proxies continue. You know, it's interesting. I continue to pray for peace, but last night I did title the episode America, World War III, and XRP, and the thumbnail was America Enters World War III. And now we hear that we have strikes taking place in Syria. We're watching this unfold. Today, we also get news that Israel has started a ground operation, but this was a small little deal. I guess they went in, they kind of did some damage, and then they went back to the Israeli side, the Israeli territory. So they did not begin the full invasion yet, but we did get a little ground operation, watching that one closely. We also see, and this is a massive deal, folks, the digital yuan has been used for the first time to settle an oil transaction, commodities and CBDCs. Here we go. And this is so much bigger than, oh, someone used the crypto to buy some candy at the candy store. This type of adoption, this type of deal is something to consider. This is the real deal. When you're settling up a transaction for oil, this isn't, oh, we're using some crypto to go buy a candy bar. This is what matters most, which is the commodity and the currency war. Breaking down in real time as we watch, the US GDP rises by 4.9% in Q3, above expectations of 4.3%. This is the biggest jump since Q4 of 2022 and the 5th consecutive quarterly increase in GDP. Despite higher interest rates and geopolitical tensions, GDP continues to rise. Is the Fed on track for a soft landing? They are not on track for a soft landing. No part about this landing will be soft. And what this confirms is that they're going to have to keep rates higher for longer. And the only debate that we're having now is if they're going to raise them even higher. Is it going to be more than higher for longer or just higher for longer? That's the main question. And I don't know if they have the backbone or the cojones to raise rates one more time or raise rates a few more times, because really that's what needs to be done. But we will watch what happens here as the Fed is watching kind of the mess that they made. They rug pulled the U.S. economy and raised rates at the fastest pace in history, and now they're just sitting back and they're watching what's unfolding here, pretending like they care about Main Street getting sacrificed. But they are seeing the GDP numbers come out. And as I've been saying, this GDP is not real growth. It's not real growth at all. All it is people paying more for the same goods and services. That's all this is. I try to decode and break down this economic data to make it simple for everyone to understand. Now you're starting with bad data. That's the main problem there with statistics is you got to have good inputs, good entries into your data, into your equations. And we're starting off with a CPI lie. We're starting off with a GDP that represents, more money's being paid for the same products and services, not real growth. And that inflation is hitting home, and it just confirms that the Fed is going to have to keep rates higher for longer, and that's not good. And we still haven't felt the impacts of that in the equities market, in the real estate market. And so look out below and stay ready, stay prepared. This thing's going to get a lot worse before it gets better for the overall macro economy. Now, to confirm that, I'm not just saying that. I'm not just trying to hype this up and create, FOMO and FUD. The S&P 500 has officially erased $4 trillion in market value since its July 27th high. So there you have it. It's not just me saying, this is actually happening, being confirmed in the data and being confirmed in the charts. As I showed you guys, Dow Jones down, S&P 500 down, gold back up, silver hanging out solid, crypto cooling off after crypto just went nuts. But we're watching the real value that was in the stocks, S&P 500, getting completely erased. In 3 months, the S&P 500 has dropped 430 points and stands less than 1% away from correction territory. The exact top in the S&P 500 came on the same day that the Fed removed a recession from their forecast. Go figure. As markets fall to their lowest level since May 2023, we are in a much different environment. Last time the S&P 500 was at current levels, 3 rate cuts were priced in for 2023. Guys, this is why the economists and the talking heads that everybody's listening to on CNBC, CNN, Bloomberg, these other mainstream outlets, this is why folks get wrecked. Is because the smart guys in the room were predicting 3 rate cuts in 2023. I don't know about you, but I didn't see any rate cuts. Not one. Now, there's still some time. There's still, 2 more meetings, and so we'll give them that. But there ain't going to be 3 cuts. That ain't happening unless they do an unexpected rate cut, which if they did an unexpected rate cut or 3 rate cuts, that means that we got black swanned, which hopefully we survive whatever that black swan event is. And I say that joking with a smile on my face, but it's not a joke. We already have the World War III situation picking up, and that is the current, big black swan that did take place this last month. 50-year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Now rates are higher and futures are no longer showing rate cuts until July of 2024. Like I said, at this pace, GDP, inflation, I'm not saying that the Fed is going to cut until, well past July 2024. But we can always get black swan. We can always get simulation events of March 2020 to bring in, interest rate cuts and Powell's Pandora's box. Are stocks pricing in a recession? No, they have no idea. Most of the masses have no idea. Talking head pundits are, just sharing the most ridiculous statements. And as I shared in last night's show, Bank of America begging folks to buy the dip on stocks and saying that, we are approaching a recession, but now's a great time to buy the dip. And I've been saying equities haven't even really started. I mean, they've started, as I just showed you, S&P 500 wiping out $4 trillion. We have a long ways to go. Long ways to go. Peter Schiff commenting, in 1987, the yield on the 10-year treasuries rose from 7% to just over 10% by October. At first, the stock market ignored the rise, as we've been doing, right? With the Dow soaring over 30% by August. exactly what we've been doing. Tech, AI, the Magnificent Seven, keeping the whole stock market propped up, but then it collapsed by over 30%, including the 22.6% crash on October 19th. The current rate rise is a much greater risk. It's like I said, we're approaching a similar situation that we saw in 1987 with another Black Monday type scenario coming online. And it doesn't take much for them to shut down the systems, to flip the switch off. When it comes to cryptocurrency, let's get into it. U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis asking the Department of Justice to criminally charge Binance and Tether. How long have we been talking about this? This has been a long time coming. Glad to see that Cynthia Lummis is finally catching on. And the Bitcoin bros, as I've been saying, they're getting set up for another sacrifice here with the SEC spot ETF approval, hype, narrative, fake news. We'll see whether they delay it, whether they approve it, whether they deny it. But it's getting everyone hyped up. But we're seeing clear manipulation still taking place from exchanges like Binance and all these other exchanges that are printing new stable coins out of the ether. No pun intended. Out of the ether, they create these new stable coins and they're injecting liquidity, propping up Bitcoin. They're dropping fake news articles like they did last Monday that a spot ETF had been approved. It hadn't. But what did it do? Pump Bitcoin all the way up to 35,000. Here we go. And we've been set up once again. And so we're watching this right now. Binance still manipulating things. Tether still playing its role. Tether is the biggest tool for the manipulation that's been taking place in the cryptocurrency space. A big part of why Bitcoin got to 69,000 without utility. And I keep on bringing this back to us cleaning up the cryptocurrency space. It's going to be painful. Nobody wants to do it. But it has to be done, and after it's done, then we get to build upon utility, upon real value, and real businesses. Now, speaking of real businesses, we had some big hitters sitting down yesterday, and this is from Yasin Mubarak. Shares the funniest thing Brad said today on stage is that he is going to dress as Bill Hinman for Halloween. How about that one? We have Brad Garlinghouse and Jack McDonald on stage. I forget what this event was called, altcoins or something. I did see that Ray Fuentes from our link to our good friend was there as well. But Brad here with Jack McDonald, CEO of PolySign and Standard Custody. This is a big deal, folks, as we know that Ripple just did announce a massive partnership with Uphold. Uphold is now going to be the U.S. nexus to get these institutions onboarded to XRP. Remember, Judge Torres ruled that institutional sales are a security, so now Ripple needs to find a middleman to get U.S. institutions XRP. Who's there to step up to the table? Uphold. And Uphold is also going to help facilitate and source some of the best liquidity for Ripple and the liquidity hub, on-demand liquidity network. Call it what you want. Ripple Payments now is what it's called, right? They've rebranded from ODL, they've rebranded from RippleNet, and now it's just Ripple Payments. And it's going to be the best liquidity in the world. And they're got strategic partnerships with Uphold. Here we see Brad sitting down with CEO of PolySign, Jack McDonald, and that's going to be institutional grade custody. Absolutely love to see it. So you can go buy it from Uphold, and then you can send it on over to PolySign and get it squared away. Absolutely love to see it. Massive deal. Now we need to get into this, folks. This is the bold prediction from Jeremy Hogan and his wife and John Deaton. And I'm sure you guys have already seen it. I see Brad Kimes retweeting it out. I was watching Digital Asset Investor and he shared this clip too. But we got to get the response here from Fred Rispoli, our good friend. Fred Rispoli, another lawyer, hasn't been afraid to sue. Jay Clayton hasn't been afraid to sue the SEC already. What a guy. And he responds, Attorney Jeremy and TVH's prediction, and I believe that's Jeremy's wife, okay? TVH's prediction is one of the main reasons I think we are closer to settlement than others believe. Well, you know somebody over here that believes in a settlement coming in anytime now. Ripple has a solid chance of winning everything on appeal, wiping out the $770 million the SEC could get right now. SEC is foolish, but are they that foolish? Now, what is he talking about? I'm not going to play this full 2-minute clip, but this is Jeremy Hogan predicting that Ripple is going to appeal the institutional sale ruling from Judge Torres. and that at the second court would overturn that ruling from Judge Torres and grant Ripple a complete victory. That was the bold prediction from Jeremy Hogan. Now, what is Fred saying right here? This gives even more ammunition for the SEC to come to the table and say, okay, listen, we have a bunch of corruption. We know that you're going to expose it. You're going to dress as Bill Hinman for Halloween, Brad. We get that. That's funny. We laugh at that a little bit, but we're not going to be laughing if you actually get an opportunity to bring Bill Hinman to the stand. And at this point, we're not even going to have a trial because all that's left to decide is the remedies portion of the Ripple institutional sales. But Ripple can say, hey, this is going to be appealed by us unless you want to do a settlement right now and we have clarity going forward on institutional sales. Otherwise, we're going to appeal this, and you know very well that we have a very good chance of defeating this based off of the blue sky laws and some of the other legal defenses that we have on our side. And so, and even if some of those sales were, did constitute an investment contract securities offering, Ripple has a strong case that their ODL sales do not. And so this is where they don't get the full 770 million, nowhere near that, but maybe they get, 50 million, 100 million, you name it, right? And that number, I think, continues to go down and down as more and more gets exposed by Ripple, by the XRP community, by the sleuths, by the work that we've been doing as a community to expose this. And now we have the Ethereum whistleblower, Steven Narioff, commenting his true thoughts on XRP. But you guys know me. I've been saying settlement since September. I've been saying settlement for 2 years. I still believe that we have a settlement sometime, maybe this year, maybe the beginning of next year, anytime here by basically Q1, Q2 of next year. I think this case could easily get wrapped up. But we're watching this as Steven Narioff gets asked, do you think that XRP has a bright future? And by bright future, I mean, can it get to $10, possibly up to $100? I'd take your opinion on this over anyone's currently. So Steven responds. He says, I believe XRP has no ceiling if they achieve their objectives. It's not a simple response, but I'll give a high-level take. Usually a lower XRP price would make their offering more attractive. However, Ripple is clearly the odds on favorite to win in a network effects model. Once this is achieved, XRP must be used, and at that point, I don't see a ceiling on the price. How about that? How about that, folks? $10, $100? How about no ceiling on the price? Look at the US dollar, which has network effects and is the standard that must be used in countless instances. There is clearly no ceiling on the price of the dollar as it gets massively depreciated, but price becomes irrelevant, overshadowed by its required necessity. And a dollar is always going to be a dollar. And the government, along with the economic talking heads, do their best to manipulate and hide the fact that the dollar is being devalued on a daily basis. Now, you come to think of it, could XRP take the reserve currency role in part or whole? Oh boy, Steven. Now you got us excited. Could XRP take the reserve currency role in part or whole? Interesting concept. I love this guy. Wonder if that had anything to do with the Ripple being viciously and unfairly targeted. Probably just a conspiracy theory that so many powerful entities would go to such lengths to unjustly do everything they can to slow Brad Garlinghouse and company down, as they knew they couldn't be caught with their favored alternatives. Note that I don't own XRP or Ether right now, so nobody can say I'm doing this for any ulterior motives other than justice and radical change. Other than justice and radical change to a more fair and transparent system. Amen. God bless it. We love you, Steven Narioff, sounding the alarm on the corruption at the Ethereum Free Pass at all of the three-letter agencies, SEC, FBI, DOJ. And I remember last time I said that Steven's calling them all out. He's calling out everyone. He commented back at me and he's like, I'm actually not calling out I forget what the forest department or the national parks department or something. It was something like that. He said that they're fine. But yeah, essentially, he's been calling out all the three-letter agencies, the Ethereum Free Pass, and he's not afraid to tell us that XRP has no ceiling and that it's an interesting idea to think about it playing in part or whole that reserve currency role. And I think that Stephen, just like so many of us, realizes that a shift is here, a new reality has been entered, and XRP now as the only digital asset with legal clarity gives it an incredible advantage along with Ripple, a company that's solving real trillion-dollar problems and building out that network effect, puts it in a different realm compared to the rest of the space, which has been built on speculation and hype and narratives that have nothing to do, no basis in real utility, no basis in solving real problems. But hype and speculation alone got the space to $3 trillion in overall cryptocurrency market cap. I'm excited to see where we go next. I think there's no ceiling on the overall market cap of the cryptocurrency space. And I would agree with Steven that there's no ceiling on the price of XRP either. So that's why I don't shut down someone who says XRP can go to $100 or 589 or even $50,000. As crazy as it sounds, I don't rule it out because, once again, look at what's happened to the dollar, the adoption of that reserve currency. And you have to understand that that's a currency with no fixed supply. So you think of something similar, a reserve currency like XRP that does, in fact, have a fixed supply. And what I think is coming is the supply shock for XRP, where folks find out that there's way less XRP circulating and available for liquidity than we are being led to believe. And that's going to force a much, much higher price. An exciting time to watch this all unfold. It's happening quick. Make sure you guys stay tuned here. If you appreciate this update, let's smash that thumbs up. And if you guys want to get in touch with myself, it's all over at my website, zachrector.com, along with our Patreon Discord group as well. God bless all of you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.